55. Let's continue our conversation. Josh Orton, the senior advisor for Progressives United, Skyping in from Madison, Wisconsin. Liz Peek, columnist for the Fiscal Times, joining us from Newsmax, New York. Liz, when you hear the Attorney General make this type of comparison, does this simply take his job and the Justice Department and move it into a position of advocacy, advocating an outcome for the grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri?
I think it clearly does. I mean, I honestly don't know what he was thinking in making such a comparison. I'm not sure I have all the facts straight on the Tilt murder, but I think that was more of a revenge beating and murder having to do with social issues. What we have here is a pretty clear case of a young man who aggressively assaulted a police officer. The police officer may or may not have appropriately responded, but I think, you know, and I just think this has really kind of gotten out of control. This has become totally an issue about the greater picture of racial justice or injustice in this country. Meanwhile, a grand jury is assessing the evidence. We have to put our faith in the justice system here. There are blacks on that grand jury. I think there are 3 of them. You know, I think we have to let the process run its course here and not, by the way, Holder's not the first. I think the governor and others have constantly preempted the justice system, normal wheels turning, and I think that's just totally wrong here.
Josh, let's get your take. This is troubling because we thought this was going to be a post-racial presidency for Mr. Obama. In some ways, it's turned out to be the most racial presidency.
Well, look, I think that we can all agree that we want an impartial justice system and that charges should only be brought, an indictment should only be made to those where the evidence suggests that it meets the legal standard. But I wanted to disagree with something sad, which is that this is a clear case of someone assaulting a police officer and the officer acting in response to that. We're not really sure what's going on. We saw some information that was supposedly leaked from an autopsy. We've seen conflicting eyewitness accounts, and like I said, I think we all agree that the justice system needs to play its course. But I think what the Attorney General was speaking to, and I think what you see a lot of African-American leaders speaking to right now, is this larger question of for an individual black man or a black young man on the street walking around, whether this person has an equal shot at justice, whether this person has advocates on the ground, whether this person's police department in their local community represents them, stands up for them, or whether there's a different agenda going on. And I think that regardless of whether or not you agree with Mr. Holder's comments, I think that's a very live question right now for a large number in the black community and frankly for others in the United States who sort of right now are questioning whether our justice system serves everyone equally. I think that's a legitimate question, and I think it's something the Attorney General has brought up over and over in a justified way.
Less than a minute remains. Going to need comparatively quick comments. Liz, you criticized Democrat Governor Jay Nixon for some of what he did earlier. He's called out the National Guard preemptively. Was that the right move the way you see it?
Well, look, he's trying to keep the streets safe, and I think if he feels that's the right way to do it, that's really not what I was referring to. I think if you go back to the beginning when this incident took place, you know, he kind of prejudged the outcome or prejudged what had happened, which I thought was an appalling lapse of
Understood
judgment.
That, and I took that in that way, Liz. I appreciate it. Let me give Josh the last word here. Josh, what about the Guard being called out preemptively?
Look, I think we can all pray for peace together, no matter what happens, and pray for justice. And you know, look, I really hope that we maintain order in Missouri when whatever news comes out, comes out.
We'll have to leave it there. Liz Peek, as always, we appreciate your input. Likewise to Josh Orton, and we're coming right back.